Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today's video is going to be my February perfume tray. It's my birthday month, February, so I'm going to pick some of my favourites this month, but also I'm going to try to pick fragrances that I don't think I can wear during spring and summer. So the really syrupy, really sweet ones are also going to be in this video, the ones that I haven't chosen in December or January or November. And really, I am feeling in just quite a self-indulgent mood because of my birthday. And I really just want some fun, flirty fragrances as well. And perhaps also a sensible one or two just for work. So if you haven't seen me before, I'm Claire Smith. I make videos all about perfume, perfume science, perfume history, perfume psychology even, and I also just do some straight perfume reviews and also fun perfume tags. So if that kind of thing interests you and you haven't already done so, then please do consider subscribing, and please also press the like button if you do end up enjoying this video. So for January, which was my most worn fragrance? Well, there's actually been quite a big tie between 5 different fragrances. I actually finished off a travel spray that I had of Bois Dore by Cleef and Arpels. And I also have worn these other fragrances 3 times each. So I've also worn Lush's 29 High Street 3 times. I wore this one during the colder weather. I felt like that really worked during the cold weather. I've also worn Jardin's Tiger by Her Side 3 times. And also Guerlain 3 times. And finally, Sirene by Fragrance de Bois 3 times. And actually, out of all of the fragrances this month, my only compliment was on Sirene. So someone at work said that they could smell me as I moved around the lab. They could sense a trail coming from me. They said that it was actually like subtle but present is how they put it. And they actually just wanted to try it when I sort of told them what this was. So I'm going to take them a sample in this coming week and see what they think of it. So yeah, Sirene. So for February, I'm going to pick some very purple feeling fragrances to me. And really those could be purple florals. So I'm going to be a lot of violet in this fragrance video, but there's also going to be some purple feeling roses, also some purple feeling licorice. Licorice really feels very purple to me sometimes in fragrance. And I'm also going to choose some cherry, so some dark syrupy cherries. I think really with this fragrance tray, I'm looking for some things that are my favourites, some things from my past, some things that I would maybe consider to be signature fragrances from times gone past. And really, I just want to be very self-indulgent in this video and pick things that I really think are very over the top almost. So my first choice is going to be one from Tom Ford, and this is the easier to love sister of Black Orchid. This is Velvet Orchid. So Velvet Orchid makes me think of the springtime. It always makes me think of the transition between winter and spring because of the bold flower notes in this fragrance. But also it has that really striking sort of imaginary orchid note that I think really is the trademark of this line, isn't it? And that's what gives it that kind of slightly indolic feeling, heady floralness, which is really smoothed out by the honey and the rum in this fragrance. And as it dries down, it gets warmer, more syrupy, but also you get lots of resins come in, and the resins are quite gentle, but they really give this a powdery warmth to it. And it just becomes a very intoxicating kind of fragrance. It almost makes you feel a bit dreamy. This one always makes me think of like gothic romances. I think this one just really stands out, and as much as I love Black Orchid, I can fully admit and acknowledge that this one's much easier to wear, and I'd be perfectly happy wearing this one to work. In fact, I have worn it several times to work. I just think this one's a little bit more subtle, and it's just something that I probably more often want to reach for as much as I love Black Orchid. So that's Velvet Orchid. So leading on from that gothic romance, I really feel like this fragrance is perhaps an earlier stage of that romance. This is a fun and flirty fragrance, and that's really why I'm putting it on my tray this month. So this one's Provocateurs Fatale Intense, and I'm always amazed by how much I enjoy this fragrance because in some ways this really isn't me, and then in others it really is me. So this one, I think it's just got a kind of watery fruitiness about it, along with the licorice and also a bit of heat to it. There's kind of a gingery feel to this. And really that combination of notes makes me think of trick or treat sweets or pick and mix sweets. It makes me think of strawberry laces, maybe cherry chapsticks. It also makes me think of fruity licorice sweets, maybe even fruity sweets in plastic wrappers. There's definitely a little bit of a PVC feel to this fragrance almost. So this one will probably be my Valentine's fragrance. I just think it's really fun. So that's Fatale Intense by Provocateur. So the next choice for February is really one that I want to get to know more. I usually pick one fragrance at least per month that I feel like I don't know enough about, and I don't think I know enough about this because actually I tried it in store, but when I bought a bottle of it, it seemed to smell completely different, and I've never really had that experience quite so much with any other fragrance as I have done with this one. So I'm assuming that it's been reformulated, and that's what the difference is. So this one is Frederic Malle's Lipstick Rose. So I've had this one for about maybe 6-9 months now, probably more than 9 months. And it's just not been something I've been reaching for. I think I was just so disappointed when I finally bought this, and it was kind of completely different to what I'd smelt in store. So the one in store had a really prominent grapefruit note, and with this, I don't really get the grapefruit in the opening at all. I get kind of a spicy opening. There's definitely something kind of earthy and dry feeling in the opening. And then it sort of turns into something that smells a little bit like my grandmother's handkerchief. I think that's the violet, the rose and the iris combination. But it also has this kind of raspberry fruitiness. It smells almost like a very photorealistic, just picked, straight off the plant kind of raspberry. The smell to me actually makes me think of the hairs of the raspberry. You know, when you get a really delicate kind of pastel coloured raspberry and it has the hairs kind of standing up, you kind of get the texture of that in this fragrance. Really, the fruity feel is quite prominent for quite some time, and then it dries down to something more lipsticky. It definitely does turn into that lipstick rose, but it takes a while. But it also has this kind of slightly caught, almost slightly smoky vanilla in the background to me, which actually does become less prominent as it fully dries down, but I'm just wondering what that is. I think this fragrance is just something I need to get to know more. I really don't feel like this one's me, and it might be getting decluttered, but I just need to wear it a few more times and just make a decision. So this is Lipstick Rose by Frederic Malle. So if you watch my recent declutter video, you will have seen me actually declutter a version of the fragrance that I'm going to put on my fragrance tray for this month. And this one is Alien. So this is my 2017 bottle of Alien. I've also got 2 other earlier formulations of Alien, but this one, you know, this one's fine. I think the one that I decluttered was 2020, I think, or 2021. I think it was 2020. Anyway, it was a L'Oreal formulation, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to reach for. But this one I absolutely love, and I just want to remember to enjoy it, really. I feel like Alien is something that gets overlooked nowadays. It's something that we just kind of see in the background, and because of how L'Oreal have changed it, it's sort of something that isn't recognised as special anymore. And I think, you know, it's an old fragrance. People are kind of tired of older fragrances sometimes, and I think Alien gets a bit of flack. But it really was a masterpiece in its day. And really the reason I'm putting this one on my tray is because I was trying this other fragrance again the other day. I actually wore this one yesterday. This is Alien Essence Absolue. And Alien Essence Absolue is just beautiful, isn't it? It's something that I'm amazed that was on the market less than 10 years ago. You know, where have all these kind of magnificent fragrances gone from the designer market? I need to find something that fills my heart with joy as much as Alien Essence Absolute just truly does. So yeah, that's the reason I'm putting Alien on my tray this month, just to remember the beauty of these 2 fragrances. So my next choice is again a very self-indulgent fragrance, and this is one that really was my signature fragrance in my 20s, and that's really why this is going on my tray this month, because I might want to wear this one for my birthday. So this one is Lola by Marc Jacobs, and this fragrance is just in a ridiculous bottle with a ridiculous lid that collects dust. But I have to say, I still love this one, even 15 years on from when I first smelt it. It just really takes me back to that time in my life, and it just always makes me smile, this one. And whenever I wear it, I'm always just surprised by how much I still love it. I really would have thought that my taste would have moved past this after 15 years, but it really hasn't. I still absolutely love this fragrance. And I was going to just not buy another bottle of this when I actually finish this off, because I don't have that much left of it, but ultimately I just know that I will try and track another one down, and I'm still already looking, even though I've still got, you know, quite a decent amount left. I just can't let this one go. So this really, it opens with quite a distinctive grapefruit note, but this bottle is probably not in the best shape, so this bottle's kind of lost that grapefruit at the beginning. But really the dry down is a very kind of jammy rose. It's not overly sweet by modern day standards of sweetness, but it is still quite a sweet, dark feeling jammy rose. And there are other things you could mention about this fragrance, but that's really the most prominent thing. And there's some geranium that kind of gives it a little bit of oomph as well. That makes the rose a little bit darker and deeper. And this one, I just absolutely love it. It just is something that always makes me feel happy and like me, like I'm wearing a fragrance that reflects me. So this is Lola by Marc Jacobs. So this next fragrance is also a bit of a contender for my birthday fragrance. And I really feel like this one is the signature fragrance that I never had, because by the time I bought this, I was on YouTube, and YouTube isn't conducive to having a signature fragrance. But I think this one probably would have been my signature fragrance had I had a smaller collection at the time. So this one is La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto. So this fragrance, I absolutely love it. First of all, I love Guerlain fragrances, and I really like this line. But this one in particular is just my favourite. So this one is a powdery rose, really powdery pink rose, very Guerlain, and it just has this also dark leather, a black leather, along with a dry feeling cherry and just a slight hint of some licorice there as well. It really is reflective of the general DNA of La Petite Robe Noire, but the leather just elevates it to another level for me. And I just think this is a gorgeous fragrance because of the dark, musky dry down again. I absolutely love that in fragrances. It's in Alien, it's in a few others in my collection, and you're probably going to see that more in this video as well. But this one, I think, is definitely a self-indulgent fragrance for me because it's just one of my favourites. That's La Petite Robe Noire Black Perfecto by Guerlain. So my next choice for February is really one that I chose when I was looking at horoscopes and star signs in my fragrance video along that topic. And really that's all about scenting personalities, isn't it? And about ideas of personalities. I'm not someone who's super into horoscopes and star signs, but I really did find it very fun trying to work it out for that kind of video, to try and find things and pick things that people might think would fit. And really this fragrance is one of the ones that I chose for Pisces, and I'm a Pisces, and I kind of get fed up of people choosing very aquatic feeling fragrances and things that I don't jive with. So I chose sort of more dreamlike fragrances. And this one is Lolita Lempicka by Lolita Lempicka. This is the EDP version. I have the EDT as well. This one is just very much along the lines of the La Petite Robe Noire DNA in a way. I guess this was the forerunner of that line. This one just has a little bit more of a texture to it. I think that's what I really like about this fragrance. The fact that there's orris and there's iris, and that really lends a really strong texture to this fragrance. In fact, pretty much every time I wear this, I get something more prominent popping out than I ever had before. And actually last time I wore this, the ivy and the herbal notes in this really popped for me. And that's something I've not really noticed too much. And I don't know whether it's a weather condition or whether it's where I spray or how I spray. But yeah, I get something different each time with this one. And the cherry is very prominent sometimes. Sometimes I get more of the anise, sometimes it's more of the licorice. Maybe I smell it at different times in its course. I'm really not sure. But this one continues to fascinate me, and that's really why this one's on the tray again this month. It's just very whimsical, it's very Pisces, and it's very me. So that's Lolita Lempicka by Lolita Lempicka. So my next choice is going to be one that I actually was gifted for my birthday a few years back, and I don't feel like I've done it justice. I don't feel like I've put a big enough dent in this bottle, and really I just need to have it on my tray and enjoy it more. And this one is Kayali's Love Fest Burning Cherry. So this is very aptly named. It does literally smell like a smoked woody cherry. Smoky but not dirty, not something that's off-putting, I wouldn't have said. Definitely along the lines of, normal kind of Palo Santo smells, but really not extreme in the slightest. There is Gaiac wood listed, but I wouldn't ever say this is a distinctively Gaiac wood kind of style of smokiness. I think this is really quite tame as smokiness goes. I think the thing I like about this is the extreme fruitiness of it. The syrupy feel of the raspberry and the cherry in this fragrance is just really addictive, and it's kind of got a slight booziness to it. Not in the same way that something like Lost Cherry has. I think really those fragrances really diverge from each other very early on. And they're just in the first sort of 5 seconds, maybe people could be reminded of Lost Cherry. But actually later on, it becomes more of an actual boozy cherry cocktail. It's more of a syrupy cherry than perhaps something like Lost Cherry, where it's more of an amaretto cherry. I think this fragrance just needs more love from me. And I think the thing that stops me from reaching for this one on a regular basis is the fact that it doesn't really last. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for me to layer it with Vanilla 28, which is another fragrance that I don't wear often enough, and just see how I go with this one over February. So That's Love Fest Burning Cherry by Kayali. So the next fragrance is again a cherry fragrance, and this one I wore once in December, and I was hovering over it for my December tray and I just never put it on. But I feel like this is going to be a lost opportunity if I don't wear it this winter, and really February is my last opportunity, so it has to go on my tray. So this one is Scandal by Night, and I have to say this isn't a fragrance that's an everyday reach for me at all. You can see by the very small dent in this fragrance, this is not one I reach for very much at all. But it's just super strong. It's something you don't need very many sprays of, and it's something that I find incredibly addictive and well done when I do wear it. So this one is a really deep, syrupy, thick feeling cherry. It's a really striking honey fragrance as well. If you love honey, this is an excellent fragrance for honey. It's something that's very dark and syrupy kind of honey. Eating orange blossom honey on my toast in the mornings, that's really what I think of for this fragrance. It's a very distinctive kind of smell, the orange blossom honey. It makes this fragrance even more heady with the tuberose, and it just takes it back from the edge with the nard as well in this fragrance. Nard is something I've not really smelled in any other fragrance, and it just gives it a kind of almost aromatic greenness that makes it just come back from the edge of super duper sweetness to super sweetness. I think this one is just sweetness done in a very distinctive way that I haven't smelled in many other fragrances. And I guess Jean Paul Gaultier is perhaps famous for this kind of very syrupy sweet feel, isn't it? If you think about fragrances like La Belle, and if you think about other fragrances in the range, it's just a very distinctive Gaultier DNA that is used over and over again in the Gaultier fragrances by different perfumers. So this one is Scandal by Night by Jean Paul Gaultier. So this final fragrance is a really self-indulgent fragrance for me, because it's something I don't tend to mention in videos very much because it's long discontinued, it's hard to find, and I don't want to disappoint people. But this video for me really is a very self-indulgent video because it's basically the fragrances that I want to wear around my birthday. So I'm just going to mention this one anyway, and if you've got it in your collection, wear it. It's such a good fragrance. This one is Balenciaga's Paris. So the thing I love about this fragrance is that it's an ice cream fragrance. It's a cold, metallic feeling, green and violet leaf fragrance. It's so distinctive, and it's something that I just absolutely love. When I spray this on, I sometimes forget, if I haven't worn this for a while, just how good this is. And usually about 20 minutes later, I'm sort of sniffing and thinking, what is that smells so good? And it's always me. It's always this fragrance, which just sounds ridiculous. But honestly, I absolutely love this one. And if I could have a signature fragrance from maybe sort of 10 years ago, I really feel like this fragrance is the one that I missed out on. This is the one that passed me by, that I didn't notice, and I really wish that I bought and enjoyed at the time. So yeah, if you do see this secondhand, grab it. If you like fragrances like Chanel 19 Poudre, it's definitely not obviously like the Chanel DNA, and it's not as powdery or as green as that, but it is along the similar lines. It's got a really nice kind of cold feeling, not sweet violet. It's something that isn't like something like Insolence. It's not as powdery as either of those two fragrances. It's not as fruity and sweet as Insolence. It's not as bright and kind of got an earthy spiciness to it in the dry down, a very mild earthy spiciness. But I think that's the carnation. And carnation is something I never realised that I liked in fragrance so much until I smelt it in a few fragrances. And whilst there are fragrances with carnation I don't enjoy, this one is truly one that I absolutely love. So this one is Balenciaga Paris. So thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, then please press the like button, and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And please let me know, which fragrances will you be choosing for your February fragrance tray or to wear in February? I'd be really interested to know. And also, if you have a birthday in February, or indeed any other time of the year, which would be your birthday fragrance? So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.